as many lives as I can.
No,
games
it won't
to get
matter.
into Monster Hunter
It's not going to be like
early,
Link
while
Shack.
still maintaining
Archangel
the
has a
ceiling for
massive
the game,
global
because the
energy
best players
store.
will, of
They
course, be the
feed
ones
all
that
that
don't even need
power
to do
back
that
into
first
the
time.
Alpha Ceph, and it'll punch one hell of a hole in the earth.
In many
There'll be
ways,
no
the combat
Earth
feels like it's
left.
all about the new wound system.
So what can we do?
Wounds open up once
Connect
you
to a
deal enough
Ceph mind
damage to a
carrier.
given
If
body
I can
part,
get inside
and
their
then you'll deal
heads,
extra
maybe I
damage
can
when
reverse
attacking.
the awakening with the
That's
moment.
the
There's no
Great.
Ceph threat.
These
Cell
settings
will call off
Every
Archangel.
weapon also has a
Going to
single
link yourself to the
focus strike
Ceph?
that will deal a burst of damage
Prophet,
to a wound and
you
break it
struggled
right
to
away.
resist their
So
influence
maximizing
even
the
when
amount
your
of time you
mind was
leave one open
protected.
and then using that
We've
finisher
turned
before
those
it closes
safeties off
naturally
now.
is
That
an
means the
interesting
nanites
subgame
in
to
your
me.
suit are free.
Sure.
That means they
Or
can transform
at least
into
it
anything,
would
any
be
form
if Wilds
imaginable.
ever
You
presented
could
me with a
actually
challenge
become
that
a
pushed me
Ceph.
into those
That's a risk I'm willing
Whether I
to
was
take.
playing online or solo, I've never had a mission reach the 20-minute mark, and I've only fainted 2 times total across dozens of hours. Compare that to World, which had real tests like Kieran, who smacked me silly my first couple of attempts, forcing me to...
Didn't Kieran get added later on in the game? Like, I don't remember, like, I heard that it was added after launch, but I could be wrong about that. It was in the game baseline? Okay. Yeah, I didn't know.
regroup and craft an armor set around thunder resistance, and it's hard not to feel like Capcom's desire to make this...
Is it possible that maybe this guy just sucked? Because, like, the first time I fought the Kieran, like, I even fought the Arc-Tempered Kieran, I killed him. Like...
You're never gonna make it. They're gonna nuke the whole city.
Really? I mean,
You're all gonna die.
I don't think so. Like, yeah. You had OP gear, though?
Sanded off some of the bumps I actually
I got good gear from my Wow.
Things do ramp up a little bit in the first game, but even there I only really had to worry about upgrading armor or falling behind twice. After the 15 hours it took me to beat the campaign, I only had to spend another 15 to finish the side quest, which wasn't just 5 more after that before I got the best armor set and weapon I could get, and a pretty solid suite of systems for decoration. To be fair, I still have to fight the armor but my usual put together specialized outfits for certain challenging fights because those fights aren't here either. I think a lot of this comes down to raw numbers that could hypothetically be tweaked in one of the many patches that should come, but some of what makes things so easy also seems to be baked into the bones of combat. For example, nearly every time the monster just staggering nearly breaking rings all along. Meanwhile, on the technical side of things,
That's where the wounds don't activate as often, right? Like whenever you go into higher difficulty modes.
Prophet?
And also, like,
Are you there?
I don't know, like,
are you okay?
I think if you want to make the difficulty of the game, I feel like as somebody who's played Monster Hunter World, like I didn't think that Wilds was
They aren't
really
attacking
super hard either. But I mean, Arkfeld was hard,
They
but he
think
was like
you're Seth.
overtuned. But like besides Arkfeld, the game was pretty easy.
No.
That's why you said it could be
just
patched.
Seth.
Yeah, exactly, right?
They
And so
think
like,
I'm the Alpha Ceph.
I just don't really see this as being
The Alpha Ceph.
Prophet!
hard monsters with
Prophet!
the Wilds.
It's too dangerous!
the best
You're
armor
losing
is
yourself to the Ceph! Prophet!
Super rare,
Lawrence!
and sometimes show up as
No!
guaranteed rewards when
No,
you get the
I'm
monster
okay.
list on the map.
I'm alright,
That
I'm
was
alright.
excitingly convenient initially, but it's also what brought that loot chase to an almost trivially fast end.
I feel
I
the
imagine this
hive
difficulty
mind.
tuning will get a lot more
It's so
people through the front door. But it also means that where my past 3 Monster Hunter reviews
That's
wrapped up
it.
around the 50 to 60 hour
Their
mark, where I
thoughts
still had
and the
plenty more I was
power, it's all
excited
the
to do,
same thing.
I started losing
If I can
steam
only-
wilds before I even hit 40. Don't get me wrong, that's still a healthy chunk of game, and it has absolutely been some of the most fun I've
Alpha
had in
Ceph.
the series.
Get out of there, Prophet!
And well, we just have to wait for updates or G-ranks
exactly.
or whatever for the real thing. But in that regard, Capcom's own roadmap has left it really scary. There's only one monster set
I think that like developing games and making it really
I'm not
I do. I think it's one of the biggest mistakes that they can make is that if you make a game really hard, you're just gonna make the accessibility to players low. Because, like, and I think Elden Ring is the best example of this. Elden Ring is, in my opinion, a very easy game if you play it in the right way. And it can be a very hard game if you play it in the wrong way. And so the problem is that, and this is something that From Software actually did, and this is what I think makes them a great studio, and I think it's also what makes Capcom a great studio, is because games come out, players don't necessarily get that. And you don't want to run into the problem that some studios and some franchises have, where like now that like you're on a game number 6, like World of Warcraft is like this, is that the skill gap in the player base, like you have new players that are coming into the game that are the same, basically effectively skill level as the old players, but the problem now is that the new players are the same skill level, so like the difference is larger and larger and larger. And so like, did it feel good for me to beat some of the monsters in Wilds? Like in World, like, I feel like what monster did I feel good about? Like, I mean, all like Nergigante, I was really happy about beating for the first time. Baryon, which was in the DLC, and maybe like a couple other ones. Yeah, Alatreon. Yeah, definitely Alatreon. That was a really big one. Velkhana. I hated Velkhana. Like the boss fight was amazing, but like I remember I didn't have Divine Blessing on. I didn't know it. I thought the game was broken, and like I was really mad. Devilo. Yeah, definitely there was that too. Yeah, I was really happy raising Brachydos. That was a really good one too.
Only one currently listed for summer. In contrast, Rise also felt slight at launch, but got 6 new monsters just 1 month later, and then 3 more a month after that. Wilds already feels like it needs endgame threats like its formidable Elder Dragons to really push its limits. And if it instead only gets 1 returning monster in the first 3 or so months after launch,
we need to link up ASAP. The situation is out of control.
It didn't work,
and
but
I think
the
that
hive
I'm
mind
going to
is
give this
pure
guy a little bit of
energy.
credit.
If I let them in a little
Past
more,
performance is an
I can
indicator
take
of
that
future
power for
performance.
myself.
And
Prophet,
Dragon's
come
Dogma
back to
2
me
had
and
the
listen.
exact same problem.
I've got more details on Archangel. It's already in transfer orbit.
And so, like,
it could be
I
on us
think
within
this
the
could
hour.
be fair.
We also know
But I
cells
just don't think
evacuated
that,
everywhere
like,
but a single
difficulty
facility
for me,
about
like
5
looking
clicks
at
from
difficulty
here.
as being a
It
factor,
must be a command point
I don't
for the satellite.
necessarily take it that
Get
seriously,
me inside,
but I
and
do
we can
think it
shut
exists.
Archangel down together. Are you with me on this,
Different
soldier?
teams, though? Yeah,
Yes,
but
ma'am.
it's Capcom, and it's 2 really, really big Capcom games. That's what I'm against difficulty in video games. I'm against difficulty. So, challenge and difficulty, in my opinion, are 2 different things, and there's good difficulty and bad difficulty. Like, good difficulty is like Elden Ring. Elden Ring is a difficult game. Like, any From Software game is difficult. Like, Sekiro is good difficulty. Bad difficulty is like Dark Souls 2, right? Where it's like you walk through there's a guy that's standing behind you, he hits you, and you're dead, right? Like, you know, fucking dragons, like bad difficulty is like, you know, you can't beat this unless you get to a certain number equivalent. Like, I actually thought this is going to be even against like Dragon's Dogma 1. I didn't like the fact that, like in Dragon's Dogma 1, you needed a certain level of attack power rank in order to even deal damage to a monster. I thought this was the cheesiest and dumbest type of difficulty you could have in a game. And so, like, there are a lot, like, Lost Ark can be bad difficulty too, right? That was bullshit. Yeah, it was so fucking stupid. And so, like, making a game harder doesn't make it better, but making a game challenging does. And I don't know whether this game is going to be challenging or not, but I think that as long as players that are experienced have, like, some of those, like, end-game challenges, like Melania and Elden Ring and other stuff like that, things would be okay. So I'm just not sure, like, what the difficulty caps and the difficulty levels for the game are.
That all said,
because like in Dragon's Dogma 2, I felt like I had this insanely good character, and there was nothing that I could put it up against that really challenged it. Like, even the hardest bosses in the game, and like the hardest monsters in the game, were just a joke. Like, and there was nothing I could really do, I could do it with, right? Whereas, like, in Dragon's Dogma 1, you had, like, and again, you can get to the point where you can basically beat the shit out of any boss, even in Dragon's Dogma 1, right? For sure. But, like, it's like, so much easier to earn that in Dragon's Dogma 2.
deserves credit for being what has got to be one of the most customizable games I have ever played. There's a huge host of accessibility features. You can adjust the size of or turn off individual elements on your UI. You have more control than ever over your menus and radio wheels. And you can alter the look of stuff like your mount, chat stickers, and even fast travel events to a surprising degree. As a crowning touch, you can finally wear any version of each armor set too, essentially doubling the cosmetic options previously available as you get to the all-important fashion side of things toward the end. Partying up online has also been made more robust, letting you run around each map with your friends and seamlessly flow from hunt to hunt without having to regroup at camp between each mission. And even if you're largely planning to play solo, there are quality of life changes here for you too. That could be the surprisingly competent AI support hunters that fill empty spots in your party when you fire an SOS flare, but also the inclusion of an online single-player option that lets you fire flares to get help, but still pause the action entirely before you do.
That's great. Yeah, that's awesome.
Monster Hunter Wilds continues to smooth off the rougher corners of the series in smart ways, reducing as much friction as possible that could get in the way of you grabbing any of its exceptionally fun weapons and planting them firmly in a monster's eye. But in that quest to make Monster Hunter more approachable, Wilds is sliced a little too close. Turning its challenge back so much that I really needed to engage with it in depth at all this time to the Apex credit. It's more like that fun I've had in this series, but like the blustering...
I hope to a DLC that's like Shadow of the I want to see this fucker. After talking about how the game's so easy.
Prophet, come back to me and listen.
They always do.
I've got more details on Archangel. It's already in transfer orbit. It could be on us within the hour. We also know cells evacuated everywhere but a single facility, about 5 clicks from here. It must be a command point for the satellite. Get me inside, and we'll shut Archangel down together.
Like a dragon,
are you with me on this, soldier?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, so, I feel like making a game more difficult and having like really challenging boss fights is good to have, but that's not something that you want to do with the campaign. I think, again, a lot of games need to look at the way, I think that, again, one of the greatest games of all time, Elden Ring. You just do what Elden Ring did, and then do that. That's it. Because like challenges, like for example, like in Monster Hunter World, you can fight Rathian early. I didn't even know that. I thought I was supposed to fight Rathian, and apparently I was fighting him very early. The Devil Ho is the same thing in Monster Hunter World. So, and then like you even fight Nergigante very shortly whenever you're on Zora Magdaros. And so like you have that, and then what are the other ones? I think there's one more that I'm just not thinking of right at the top of my head. But like, and so those things, Devil Joe, yeah, I don't know what the fuck it's called, right? But anyway, that kind of content I think is really important. But they can add more of that into the game later on. My concern though is that again, the last game, like one of the last big Capcom games, it's very similar to this.
Claire,
it was
my
Dragon's
unit,
Dogma. And
the SEP
I
disabled
am
our
worried
APC.
that some of the content won't be as
We
substantial.
need help, Prophet.
Because I think Dragon's
I don't know
Dogma had
what...
that problem as well.
I don't think this is a survivable situation.
AI bots and called them surprisingly competent.
5 minutes, okay?
You played it
Just
yourself.
5
Arkfeld was hard as fuck.
minutes.
Well, the problem is that Arkfeld was hard because he was over-tuned. And I think it could have also been a tempered version of Arkfeld, right? Like, that's why it said, like, Unchained Arkfeld or something like that. Like, there was purple around them, too. So, I wasn't really sure about that. And also, it was the time limit as well. Like, in the base game, most... I can't think of any attack that one-shots you in the base game. Like... the dive doesn't one-shot you. I mean, Angelina Red, I think it's that Chaos. I don't even know. That's like the DLC stuff.
Crysis. Romeo 12 has set up a perimeter, but
game, like, I think
it's hopeless. There's no end to them.
like a live
The
service,
set just keep
Fortnite is a live
coming.
service, but in the live service way that you fancy viewing is live service, or like Baldur's Gate 3, where it's a single player buy-to-play game, but they're going to add in new content. Like Baldur's Gate 3 recently added in like subclasses, for example, right? Like that's the kind of stuff that I would want to see. And I think the criticism of the game being too easy, maybe that's true, but also when I see somebody playing with AIs constantly, like, well, yeah, it's going to be easy if you're playing with the AIs because you're effectively playing a 4-player hunt. I'll tell you this. I have failed a 4-player hunt, I think, once. Other than that, I've never failed a 4-player hunt. And it was against Raging Dracula, right? That was it. Like, you basically never fail them. The Black Dragon? Well, no, because I soloed the boss first. Sappy Jiva? No, we killed Sappy Jiva in one run. Because we played with this guy that had light bowgun, it was like maxed out, he just like basically soloed the boss. So like that's not what happened. Like we farmed the fuck out of him. And so I'm trying to think, yeah, you never did our Timber Valhalla? No, for sure, but that's like late post
From the
game
north!
content.
It's hopeless!
Like that's
We're never getting out of here!
super far
Listen
behind.
up!
And not to get
Keep
carried?
that
No,
negative
it's
bullshit
because
off my
basically
airways, or I will
Monster
personally
Hunter,
send you
one
to
of the
fight
big
the Seth
functions of
yourself
Monster
as a
Hunter is
one-man
being able
front
to
line.
preempt movements.
Do you understand me?
And when
No,
you don't have to
he's
preempt
right.
movements because there
This
are
is
multiple
hopeless.
targets the monster can be facing, the game becomes exponentially easier instantaneously. Like it becomes instantaneously easier just by that feature and just by that function. And so you might have got carried, mate. Game's trivial with a good team. Well, no. I'm not talking about like when I'm playing like with the Sappy Jiva was when I was playing the stream. But like it just I queued this multiple times off stream even. And like off stream I thought the fuck out of Raging Brachiodos in order to get like the
Prophet, evac is a no-go.
something like that. It's called like the warhead.
You should
or something,
finish
and
your
it was
mission.
so
Stopping
I farmed that
Archangel
off
is
stream,
our priority.
and I got it. And I remember I did it like 7 times.
You're just wasting
Yeah,
time
like
here.
7 times. And there's reactor, yeah. And I think we failed it once, and that was it. So I don't know.
I wish we'd got off to a better start. We would have made a great
Yeah, I think so
team.
too. Sweaty Monster Hunter players are crying because the game is
Good luck.
enjoyable for the players. Yeah, and I think also like some of the things that like Monster Hunter players that were like very good and like more experienced with, like that's less important. Knowing monster positioning and monster animations is less important when you can have things like Clash and Perfect Parry with more weapons like the Greatsword. Like giving that tool to the Greatsword makes the Greatsword.
Romeo Actual, this is Romeo 1. We have
Like,
Vulture prepped and ready
extremely
for evac.
fucking
Over.
So I
Michael!
think that's it.
You came back!
What's happened there in Monster Hunter?
Romeo
This is the new
Actual.
guys? Yeah.
This is
Even
Romeo
if Sword and
1.
Shield gets flashes?
Please
Well,
observe
I think
standard
almost
radio protocol
everyone
on this
does.
channel.
The game is
Over.
trivialized through
Whatever
skill and
you say,
knowledge, and so
Romeo 1.
it challenges to
Over.
overcome. Yeah. And so like if you're an experienced player, I think that's probably what's going to give you a lot more insight. But I mentioned 15 hours to beat the game or 15 hours to beat low rank. I don't know. I'd have to go back and double check. Fire this guy. It's really embarrassing to say they reviewed it on PS5 Pro and not mention a word about performance on it. Well, I mean, yeah, that's true too. Like, yeah, on PC the performance was pretty problematic. We get it. You're a veteran. Damn. Yeah, and I think again, like, you guys see my point of view with like how I'm saying that when you start reviewing a game, or sorry, when you start designing a game for your most engaged and most serious and most hardcore audience, you effectively make them your only audience. And so, like, if you make this game and you build it on, like, all the people that play forward, like Microsoft made everybody as hard as possible, right? And they're like, this a lot less people would have played it, right? And like that's not really the way that you develop a game. And so making difficulty scale with the amount of like people that have played the game is always a mistake. Because those long-term players will always find ways to challenge you. They will always do. And you don't have to do it. Is this the same idea that those rails are? Yes, that's correct. This game
right in your hand. So you know your big deal is the best deal. Get it with Gurus at CarGurus.com.
Modern gaming feels like it's
Modern gaming has slowly begun to feel like a
Romeo
trend.
1, we are clear and ready for takeoff. Over.
Prophet, back in Romeo 12 to
I don't feel as great towards older games
Copy that,
are
Psycho.
now playing for the first time, or several indie titles. Now this is where many comes from the mainstream AAA games released over the last few years. And I know I'm not alone in this, as it's one of the most common topics brought up in forums and discussions in the broader game community.
I think the reason why is because of the focus on an achievement system. And the problem is, like, if you look at something like Armored Core 6, think about how many people criticized Armored Core 6 for not being enjoyed.
Or is it just one or two communities that feel this way? Many different types of games are sharing a similar sentiment, and game development technology has only gotten better and better, and games have only become more and more ambitious. So from an objective standpoint, gaming should be better now than ever before. So why do so many gamers share this sentiment?
I think that gaming is better now than it was before. I think that by far. But I think that it's not if the only thing that you're consuming is AAA titles. Like, if you're going after and you're trying to find, like, for example, like for me, how many games this year have come out that have been like really, really fun to play? Like in the past like 6 months or so. Like, I've had Armored Core 6, like, this game's been really fun. Blasphemous 2, I played that, Talking of Andy and Lately, like, Japanese Guy, Enshrouded came out recently. Dude, this game was so fucking fun. And I'm still not even done with it. Grand Blue Fantasy just came out. This game's really fun, too. Like, I think there are so many great games, and I really wish that people would stop looking at the latest Ubisoft release and then basing their opinion of the gaming industry as a whole off of that. I'm so tired of that.
Again, there's always the "you're outgrowing gaming, you're nostalgic for the past, you're just burnt out." Now, while these are applicable to some, I don't think it really represents the full picture, and the problem goes far deeper than the various surface level explanations. So I want to look at that first point. Old games don't feel like a chore, but new ones do.
I always wanted to know why I am the way I am. My curiosity led me to Ancestry. It was amazing to see all the traits that I've gotten from my mother in my DNA. It's a family thing. It's a family thing.
Experience advanced technology you have envisioned. Equipped with the largest in class ultra-wide 30-inch diagonal display and Google built-in compatibility, innovation is at your fingertips. Buick, exceptional by design.
Why? What's the difference between new and old game design that separate them from one another? Well, there's quite a lot actually. We're not going to be able to cover all of them in this video, but one of the most important things to me is old games rarely wasted your time. They got you right into the action. Right into
And this is a big difference between like live service games and like just box games that you can play offline. There's no reason for Dark Souls to make it take a really long time for you to get a Black Knight Halberd. And it doesn't. Like, if you can get one at the beginning of the game, right, from that one guy, and there's a really good drop chance for it. It's like, what, 16, 20%, something like that, from the guy at the bottom of the, next to the grass shield? It's really common. And if you don't get it, then you get something else. And, like, think about Monster Hunter. The rarest items in Monster Hunter take you a fraction of a time. Actually, I don't know about the rarest items, but it's like that's some of the decorations. But, like, for example, getting a mantle for, like, a hard boss, this is a fraction of the difficulty that it takes to get something in a live service game. Because live service games win based off of making you play the game longer, and games like Dark Souls or Monster Hunter win by making you love the game. And that's the difference. Oh, man. Oh, I think that games like Shadow of the Colossus, I remember I watched my friend Jason play a lot of it. And there was a lot of time periods where like you were just kind of not doing anything. You were moving around from point A to point B. And I think that's okay. That's not really a big deal. It just depends on like how the game is designed and like what the focus of the game is. It's the atmosphere.
Rash.
Yeah, I think
If
the
anyone
atmosphere
can
for a
help us
game
with
is
this, it's
very
Rash.
important.
Get him.
I've got some more data on Archangel. We're tracking its orbital transition, and you're gonna have to pick up the pace. It'll be over New York in just 15 minutes.
You gonna make it?
We're just a couple of clicks from Rash's signal origin.
They
We'll
said
sweep
that
for any
about
signs of him,
MMOs
and we'll
back
be
in
out
the
there
day,
in
and
5.
nobody plays them anymore.
We'll be at the
The game was
rendezvous.
going to put you. Let's take New Vegas and Starfield as examples. So, winning the first 60 minutes of New Vegas versus the first 16 minutes of Starfield. If all New Vegas, you get a key feature cinematic to set up the world of Fallout, and the main plot that New Vegas will revolve around. You immediately wake up in the doctor's house. He helps you set up your character stats and character creator. You stumble outside and begin talking to a few folks in town. You learn the basics of combat and survival from other characters. You then involve yourself in a conflicting quest to either help the town against a bunch of escaped convicts, or help the convicts take over the town. And in the process of all that, you've learned about skill checks and branching quest design that will affect the game forever. And in the aftermath of whichever choice you choose, you now know almost everything you'll ever need to know for the rest of the game, and you pretty much wrapped up the first hour of New Vegas right there. I'm assuming that claims you to release to just go play the game.
Just do it over the phone.
Yeah. Exactly the way that the voice you want to get straight to the game. Now let's take a look at Starfield. You don't spend about 10 minutes walking while you pass out, you wake up, take your character stats, slow walk for another 10 minutes with more exposition dumping, fight off a group of pirates in about 20 seconds, slow walk, exposition dump some more, interact with your loading screen, your ship, walk around a barren planet, shoot a couple more pirates, and then somehow, after that first hour, the game becomes even more restrictive and slow. And you will spend the next 3 hours doing nothing but slow walking and talking to NPCs to tutorialize you some more. Another 5 hours of fetch quests and radiant quests go by, and then by maybe hour 12 or 13, you have a similar level of freedom that you did after the first hour of New Vegas. I mean shit, by hour 12 of New Vegas, I'd be balls deep in uncovering a cannibalism conspiracy inside the Ultralux casino. Hell, even at hour 6, I'd already sent some ghoul...
Jesus, boys.
Rash! If anyone can help us with this, it's Rash.
Get him.
Every Starfield video.
I've got some more data on
should make it
Archangel.
more like
We're
on
tracking
Twitch.
its orbital
If you
transition,
play
and you're
Starfield,
gonna have
you're
to
in
pick
the
up the
ASMR
pace.
category.
It'll be over New York in just 15 minutes.
Just combine
You
the
gonna
two.
make it?
We're just a couple of clicks from Rash's signal origin. We'll sweep for any signs of him, and we'll be out there in 5.
It's not that good.
We'll be at the
And
rendezvous.
while not everyone feels like Starfield is a chore to play, I think the build is safe to say that Starfield has been a very large disappointment for many. It was very easy.
If you want to explore, you'll have to go to your menu, zoom out to the planet, zoom out to the star system, navigate in the direction of the star system, fast travel, then you watch the loading screen and then your navigation, and walk in a straight line for 3 to 5 minutes until you reach a point of interest. Unfortunately, none of these points of interest are interesting. At best, you'll find a copy-pasted pirate camp, and at worst, you'll find a planet trait, which is useless unless you're trying to fully scan a planet, or a cave with a few alien enemies and basically nothing in it.
Let's start with
America's favorite hot honey meets America's original chicken. KFC Mike's Hot Honey Chicken. Try it, just $7.
There's an external generator powering the air defenses. Can you put a shell through it? Over. I'll see what I can do.
And they carry quality parts.
You trust your brands? At a great value.
Thanks. Now that.
I don't know how this happened.
It is just the most recent example of a game that wastes the player's time. We can discuss forever about the 20-hour feature films in the Sony PlayStation catalog. Or the
Hey, no, that's totally fine. Because people get that. Like, and also the gameplay in God of War, I haven't played the new one, so I'm speaking secondhand here. But I've never heard a lot of bad stuff about it. It seems like people really like these games. I am not a disliker of cinematic games. But it's not the same as God of War, like, 2 or something like that.
Loaded and tedious gameplay design of Ubisoft titles, or other generic game studios. Or we could talk about live service games.
Ooh.
Every few months give players 30 hours of busy work.
New thing to do.
It doesn't matter the example, you know exactly what I'm talking about. modern games that love to waste your time. They only focus on getting you to spend as much time as possible inside their game.
Yep.
Why? Well, because
they have a store. And they want you to spend money in the store. And so the longer you play the game, the more likely you're going to play. You're going to open the store. And that's why a lot of loading screens have advertisements for things in the store. That's why, for example, with Diablo 4, it's really cool that they show your characters together whenever you zone into a dungeon with your friends. But that's also for the purpose of showing off microtransactions that other people in the group also have. So everything is built around, you have to understand that whenever a game has a store and it's a live service game, almost every single game acts as a funnel into the store. So it's like the tail wagging the dog. The store is what decides what happens in the game. Everything is built off of that, and that is the deciding variable whether something will be successful or unsuccessful in the game. Is that true, though? There's a relationship between hours of play and purchase? I think that, yes. I think it's very obvious that if somebody plays a game more, they're going to be more likely to buy something. And do we really need a study to tell us this? It's obvious.
Gaming journalists and basement dwellers will publicly crucify the game for not being long enough. You know, I can see it now. Bioshock...
I don't agree with that point. I don't think that's true. I think that, for example, Armored Core 6 didn't get crucified for being too short. People were disappointed that it was too short, or it wasn't longer, I mean, because they wanted more game. But I think that most people were happy about it.
Hence, other requests get the game over to over 40 hours. Because longer means better.
Yeah.
Right. Wrong.
That is absolutely wrong.
Older games rarely get wasted time with.
Yeah, I really noticed this a lot with Monster Hunter, is that I very rarely in Monster Hunter felt like I was actually wasting my time. Like, I was just playing a game, and it was the same thing with, like, Elden Ring. And I think one of the biggest determining factors is whether the game is a live service or not. Because live service games profit whenever you play the game more, so it's in their interest to waste your time. And games on live service don't do that. Now, there are great live service games that don't do that. But there aren't as many of them.
I should have known. And that people are interested in playing other games. You know, I can play Assassin's Creed 2 over a weekend. Maybe like an extra evening on a weekday too. And that's awesome. I didn't waste 2 months grinding it like I did with Valhalla. And because it doesn't take so long to get through, I go back and play it at least once a year because I know it won't eat up a whole lot of my time. But what about you? I love them, and yes, they can take a long playthrough. For instance, I loved my time with Elden Ring. I was close to 100 hours of my first character. And Elden Ring seems like the perfect candidate for replayability. It's easy to build and really to approach the game, but the thought of replaying Elden Ring is a bit daunting. You know, I played through Dark Souls dozens of times, and like Assassin's Creed 2, I play it at least once or twice a year because while it's possible to spend 80 hours in a single playthrough, my replays have been closer to 15 hours. RPGs that are more dense and expansive.
I think that he's right about Elden Ring, that it's harder to replay the game because there's just so much that's going on in the game. Like, I agree with him.
Ones that I always find myself going back to more often, or just games in general. Again, this doesn't mean...
Yeah, Dark Souls feels like a game that could have come out on Super Nintendo. I don't know, like, does that make sense to anybody? Like, that's the way I feel about it.
Bad at all. They just need to respect my time.
Yeah.
It's just not something I'm looking to play quite a bit. Baldur's Gate 3 is a good example of a game that's... Yeah, but I think you can ask anyone, including myself, about my time with that game, and none of its great unnecessary. It's just a behemoth in a good way. Every hour coming up with good points, necessary content. The real difference between the good one and the bad one is playing a lot of invested in the game versus playing in order to get to the fundamentals.
I think that, like, really, this is what I wish a lot of developers did, is they had a metric for like when people start skipping cutscenes. Because I feel like there's so many games that are like I remember Wayfinder was like this for me, where it was like I wanted to pay attention to the story, but I actually really wanted to play the game. And so every time, whenever I play a new game, one of the things that I hate the most is whenever a new game does a 1-hour exposition of all of these things, because I'm not going to remember any of this. Because, like, I don't have, like, so the way that memory usually works is that you remember things in, like, a web, where it's like, oh, I remember this because I connected to this, or I remember this because I connected to this. So if you give somebody the whole thing, and then it's like, oh yeah, you have to know all of this. Well, they're not going to, because they won't remember any of it. Because it's like, oh, well, this thing that happened, like, who cares what this thing is? And so, I wish that more games realized, like, how much of their time they just waste. Like, Grand Blue Fantasy Relink was like this for me, too. Like, I played Grand Blue Fantasy Relink because I saw the gameplay, and I thought to myself, holy fuck, this game looks really cool. And I'm spending all my fucking time sitting here watching cutscenes. I'm just...
Aerial defenses down. Free the land. Copy that. Now make your way to the control station. Hurry up.
Okay, where's the boss
still be functional. Over.
And that's it, you can skip them. But my point is that you should want to. That's my point. My point is that I wish that games would make it to where the story, like, here's a great example. Path of Exile. I love the story in Path of Exile because whenever you click on the lore items in the game, you can continue playing the game while the lore is playing, and you can listen to it. That's fucking awesome. I love that.
Asana helps you identify blockers to keep work on track. Try it for free.
There are times in modern games, especially live services, that I would often be thinking about the literal chores I need to do in between fun, doing all the live service style bullshit.
Did I play this
hours
one?
of tedious quest
I don't know if I did. I played a game that was like...
I was mostly relieved when I finally stopped playing the game for the night. Maybe 30% of my time in the game was actually having fun.
Really?
Grinding for XP and materials to advance isn't a massive problem if the grind is reasonable. But we all know that in most games...
yeah, no, I feel like, so games that I feel like the grind was fulfilling and fun. I liked the grind in Monster Hunter. I liked it in Dark Souls. I liked it in Elden Ring. I will tell you, I liked the grind in New World. For like professions, like gathering professions, I liked it, even though it took a very long time. It was like a much more long-form version of it. I like the grind in Pow World. I think that was fun. What was it? Enshrouded, the grind has been really fun. It's reasonable. I would say even, this might be an unpopular opinion, but I think some points in Valheim, the grind is too much. I think that it's fucking annoying having to go back to the swamp constantly whenever you're in the Mistlands. It's fucking annoying. So yeah, there are games that the grind is bad that aren't live service, but overall, I mean, fuck. Valheim's a great game. I totally recommend it, but that's just one thing that I don't like about it.
That just isn't the case. And again, the grind is always extended.
Aerial defenses down.
Read
the land. Copy that. Now make your way to the control station. Hurry up. Lift should still be functional. Over.
After a while, it became sort of stressful to play games.
Oh, we're in the shit now.
Second job. I'm sure you feel that sort of time.
Well, I feel like a lot of them, like, this is the how many of you guys have played a game and you lose an object in the game and it says 1 of 509?
What's going on here? Send reinforcements now! He's gonna kill me!
Yep.
Whereas
I got all.
Games made with genuine intentions, I always find myself truly invested into because I wanted to be, not because it required me. Games like these tend to consume my thoughts because of the world, the characters, the badass builds I'm experimenting with. I become obsessed with it. Not saying it's healthy for a game to consume your life in that way either, but at least you're genuinely enjoying the game because of the game, not because you're trying to check off a to-do list. Moments in games like,
aerial defenses down. Free the land.
I have to relay the bad news to his daughter. I wonder where she is. And then I spend several hours playing and adventuring, thinking about Siegmeyer's story, and trying to find his daughter.
Or, you're like me. Oh, you mean the fat guy? Yeah, whatever happened to him? Oh, wow, that's a new boss. Let's go get it. Like, I'll learn about the lore from a video. I don't give a fuck. And that's the good thing. That's good. Because, like, I can enjoy and appreciate the lore on my own time. But I can also play the game and enjoy the game for what I want it to be. And that's one thing that I wish more games respected. It's like another great example of this is Blasphemous. I feel like Blasphemous is one of the only games that's had the same type of storytelling as From Software, and the story is good enough for me to watch 2 one-hour YouTube videos about it. I feel like it's like one of the only games.
Working through other
it's so good. It's so amazing. And I appreciate it more than a game with good cutscenes.
Playing and move forward.
That's what I think.